Hi, so in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the official game lore for the various main Horde characters featured in the Warcraft movie and speculate before I go and see it as to how I think things may differ in the screenplay. I've already had a look at the Alliance characters and you can find that video by clicking on the annotation here. This video does work on the assumption in some parts that you have seen the other video. Now the key characters on the Horde side seem to be Ner'zhul, Gul'dan, Blackhand, Orgrim Doomhammer, Durotan and Draka. So, the first key character in the story in my view is Ner'zhul. Before the Burning Legion came to Draenor, the Orcs were split into various clans, rather than a single unified Horde. Ner'zhul was the chief of the Shadowmoon clan. One day the spirit of his deceased partner appeared to him and warned him that the Draenei were plotting against the Orcs. This was all a trick by Kil'jaeden the Deceiver, one of the leaders of the Burning Legion, however. Ner'zhul rallied other clans and they began to carry out what they considered preemptive attacks on the Draenei. Little did they know that all this was just a plot by the Burning Legion to attack the Draenei and their leader Valen, who had fled from the Burning Legion on their home planet of Argus. While all of this was happening, Ner'zhul noticed that the spirits appeared to become more and more distant. So he went to Oshagun to commune with them and discovered that he'd been played like a fiddle when the real spirit of his wife appeared. Ner'zhul rushed to try and undo the damage he'd done and reveal this treachery to the other Orcs, but the power-hungry Gul'dan, up until this point Ner'zhul's apprentice, had overheard the conversation and reported it to Kil'jaeden. Kil'jaeden rewarded Gul'dan by promoting him to Ner'zhul's position and demoting Ner'zhul to little more than an altar boy. Ner'zhul found out about the plot to get the Orcs to drink the blood of a demon in order to drive them into an insatiable bloodlust, and warned the other Orcs, but they wouldn't believe him anymore. The only chief who heeded Ner'zhul's warnings was Durotan, chieftain of the Frostwolf clan, and the major good guy character on the Horde side in this film. Quite whether this will feature in the film is anybody's guess, but it's notable that although baby green Jesus, Thrall, is green in the film, neither Durotan nor his Frostwolf Orcs are, so there will be some plot device to let them escape this fate that the other clans fell to. Drinking of the demon blood is a perfectly good one and could well feature in the film. Now there is a hell of a lot of story just around the build-up with Ner'zhul, and I don't see much of it actually being covered. We know Ner'zhul will be in the film, but I rather suspect he'll just be an instrumental figure in powering the Dark Portal, but that Gul'dan may well be the main power from the start of the film. I say may. The story is very much about the invasion of Azeroth, and so the story can only have so long getting to that point. And this brings me on to the main villain of the piece, both in terms of the established lore, and it very much looks like the film as well, Gul'dan. He was a former pupil of Ner'zhul and a shaman in the Shadowmoon clan, until he embraced the Burning Legion and followed the path of a warlock. He acted as Kil'jaeden's right-hand man on Draenor and persuaded the Orcs to drink the blood of Mannoroth in order to become strong. Gul'dan, in return for the power offered by Kil'jaeden, united the Orcs into a single unstoppable horde. The horde all but wiped out the Draenei, sacking their towns and cities until at last Kil'jaeden thought they were ready for their real purpose, the invasion of Azeroth, the world that had defied the Burning Legion during the War of the Ancients. Now, this aspect of the story may well feature in some abridged version of the film. After all, there needs to be motivation for doing all this, and you clearly see in the film that there are both brown and green Orcs. They are unlikely to be billed as a natural racial variation. Medivh, the Guardian who is possessed by the spirit of the leader of the Burning Legion, Sargeras, contacts Gul'dan and shows him visions of the Eye of Sargeras, a powerful magical artifact on Azeroth. Drawn to the power and potential of this device, Gul'dan eagerly gets to work forming the Dark Portal on the Draenor side. On a side note, one major feature of the original lore is the founding of the Shadow Council, a secretive body tasked with keeping potential opponents within the Orc ranks in line. However, I don't think this is central to the overall plot, and I doubt any real time will be spent on it. It might be one of those things where the production team write as if the Shadow Council exists, but without placing much significance on it at this time, maybe leaving it until the sequel. Now, in the original story, it didn't seem suitable for Gul'dan to be Warchief of the Horde, so he backed Blackhand, chieftain of the Blackrock clan, for this position. As Blackhand features in the film, I think this will also be faithfully observed in terms of the plot. It makes sense. Gul'dan doesn't fit the image of the conquering hero, so he becomes the power behind the throne upon which sits a puppet king. I haven't seen many scenes featuring Blackhand, so I'm not sure how much of a part he will play, but I see no reason to change his overall story. In the original lore, Durotan fought a duel with Blackhand after the chieftain of the Frostwolf clan saved a Draenei, who was then freed by Gul'dan as part of a ploy to get Blackhand to kill Durotan for refusing to drink the blood of Manaroth. It fails, however, as the slave escapes. Blackhand realises there's no further point in attacking Durotan. It ends up as a draw. Now, in the original lore, Orgrim Doomhammer, most definitely a major part of the film, was a member of the Blackrock clan and eventually succeeded Blackhand as Warchief after betraying his chieftain when Gul'dan fell into his coma, but more about that later. In the movie, Doomhammer, named for the legendary hammer that he wields, is a member of the Frostwolf clan instead, and a close friend of Durotan, although they were also firm friends in the official lore. We know that in the film, he does not want to side with the humans, preferring instead to side with the evil Gul'dan because, as wicked as he is at least an orc. They may be using this change of clan for a number of reasons, not least that they could still have Orgrim defeat Blackhand in a duel and take up the position of Warchief, possibly, without him seeming to be a backstabber, as is the case in the official lore. Whether this takes place before or after the final battle of the film, or whether it even takes place at all, remains to be seen. Although many major characters die in the original version of events, Orgrim is not one of them, and it is he who later set Thrall onto the path to becoming Warchief of the Horde. Orgrim is also one of the few orcs who did not drink the blood of Manaroth. He was suspicious and got out of it by claiming that he was unworthy of drinking from the same cup as the great chieftains and the mighty Warchief, which played to the ego of Blackhand. Now, the story of Orgrim Doomhammer is going to be very different in the film for a number of reasons. The first is that the film, as I've mentioned in previous videos, seems to tell the story of multiple wars over a period of over 2 decades. We see the involvement of the dwarfs in trailers, and it is likely that they'll be fighting in Hazmodan. In the original war, Doomhammer is Warchief at this point. Will he be in the film? If he is, then he'll be breaking away from Durotan and dueling Blackhand for the position of Warchief well before the end of the film, you would think. It is possible. After all, we see the Blackrock Mountain area featured where Durotan meets with the representatives of the Alliance and offers to work together. I would think that this scene does not take place towards the end, and so I can wonder how early Doomhammer will split apart from his close friend Durotan. From what I can piece together from the many scenes that we have seen in advance, Doomhammer is the hardest to predict, as his character and story seem to be the most removed from the official lore. We are told that when we watch the film, we'll find it totally makes sense. The production team is an extremely good one, so I'm going to trust to that until I see it for myself. Anyway, back to Gul'dan, and I think his story with the film might well end with the death of Medivh. When Gul'dan learns that the Alliance heroes plan to kill the Guardian, he tries to mentally probe Medivh's mind to find everything he knows about the Tomb of Sargeras. He's still doing this when Khadgar and Lothar strike. As Medivh dies, the mental backlash knocks Gul'dan out and he ends up in a coma for a while. Again, I see no reason why this shouldn't be in the film either, and it would potentially end Gul'dan's involvement in the story for now, and I'm hoping that the continuation of that story would be realised in a sequel. If you're wondering why I haven't mentioned his involvement with Garona, that's because I covered it in the previous video. Check it out if you haven't already watched it. Now, in the original storyline, Gul'dan awoke from his coma and saw that Orgrim was Warchief and that he'd all but destroyed his Shadow Council. He promised to create an army for the new Warchief from the fallen bodies of Stormwind Knights. He raised them up, bound to Orc souls as Death Knights. Doomhammer agreed, but just as he was about to assault the humans in Lordaeron, where Lothar has fled with his people if you recall from my last video, Gul'dan fled with his forces across the sea in search of the Tomb of Sargeras. Suddenly missing half his army, Doomhammer retreated back to Blackrock Mountain, where Lothar led an alliance assault against his forces. Eventually, Lothar met Doomhammer in single combat, where the Orc Warchief prevailed. There is a little confusion as to the specific events, given the way stories were told in the original Warcraft games with both an Alliance and a Horde campaign, but an event similar to this may well take place. I think it's almost certain that the sequel will be about the rise of Thrall, and as Lothar is not alive for this, he probably needs to have that duel and to fall to Orgrim Doomhammer in the film as well. But, as I've said in my previous video, I don't think Stormwind will fall. I certainly don't think they're going to have a retreat to Lordaeron. So the whole thing about Gul'dan abandoning them, I don't think will be in the film. In terms of Durotan's story, his early experiences tie in very strongly with the Draenei. However, as I don't think this can be covered in the film, I'll try to confine myself to the events around the invasion of Azeroth itself. Needless to say, Durotan was always suspicious of Gul'dan and the move away from the traditional shamanistic ways of the orcs. However, he does not openly oppose Gul'dan, as he was not powerful enough, something he shows a keen awareness of in the film as he talks to Orgrim in what appears to be Westfall. Durotan even attacked and killed Draenei on Blackhand's orders in the original lore. Though I don't think they will do this in the film, I think they want him to remain unambiguously honourable throughout. In the lore, after the opening of the Dark Portal, Gul'dan exiled Durotan and his Frostwolf clan for his continued opposition to his plans. It doesn't look like this happens in the film though. I suspect Durotan pretty much exiles himself by aligning with the humans anyway. In fact, the Frostwolves played no part in the First War at all, but as the film seems to be an amalgamation of numerous wars, I think we can discount this part of the original storyline. In fact, there is a scene where Lothar faces off against a Frostwolf, so they are certainly part of the Horde at this point. It is after the First War that Draka, Durotan's mate, gives birth to Thrall, although his actual name is Gael. They resolve to take the fight to Gul'dan in order to rescue the future of their child. I think this will be a strong theme in the film, as seems to be portrayed by the scene featuring Durotan, Draka and the baby in the hut with the line, "Whatever happens." In the game lore, Orgrim is already Warchief at this point, and Durotan and Draka go to see him and tell him what they know of Gul'dan. Doomhammer agrees to stand against Gul'dan. He's never liked him, but fears for the safety of Durotan and his family, so he sends them away. However, the Blackrock Orcs who accompany him are loyal to Gul'dan and they attack in the woods. Durotan kills one, but is mortally wounded by the others, having his arm sliced off so that he may never again hold his son. Draka flees with the baby, and we see a scene in the trailers of her sending her infant son off in a Moses basket into the river as she looks back defiantly at her pursuers. She dies in the story at this point, and I think she will here too. I think it's a safe bet that this last part of the story will be in the film, though what leads to it is anybody's guess. I do think that Doomhammer will defeat Blackhand in the film and assume command over at least a section of the Horde, as this is an important plot device in the later rise of Thrall, something that is surely planned in the sequel. So that covers what I'm willing to guess at how the film may pan out for the heroes of the Horde and the Alliance and what their official game-based stories are. At the point at which I'm putting this video out, I'll have less than a week to go before seeing it for myself, and I look forward to both a review video and a check to see how my speculation matches up with reality. I hope you've enjoyed these videos. If you haven't seen the others, then check them out in the playlist. If you have enjoyed them, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more content. Share and post wherever you think other people may be interested, and until next time, I'll see you later.